I'd like to start by telling you the story of a woman named Eliane. When I first met Eliane, it was 14 years since the genocide and the first time that she had ever told her story to anyone. She lives on Lake Kivu in the western part of Rwanda, and her house is only accessible by boat. And she woke up at 4 in the morning to take a 5-hour boat ride so that she could share her testimony and put it on record to the world. She took me back to the exact spot in the bush where she hid for 3 days, naked, after being raped multiple times and watching her entire family killed before her eyes. On the 3rd day, maggots began to crawl from her machete wounds, and she said to herself, "I cannot die here alone. I must get up and go on." When she left the forest, the militia came to hunt her down again, and she begged this time for them to kill her. They began to cut her with the piercing blades of their machete, and they left her for dead. Miraculously, she survived, and 9 months later, she bore this baby boy, Peter. When I asked her how she could make sense of the brutality, she said, "Put it this way. I spent 3 days in the bush with a small bear. The bear never touched me. When I left the bush, a man came to cut me in pieces. They were not human, they were beasts." She was visibly exhausted from retelling her story and from going back to the site where she hid. It was the first time that she had done that. And so she asked me if she could go rest and sleep in the house, the mud hut that we were staying at. And she went to lay down, but it was the first time that she had given her testimony, and she was so excited knowing that the world would know her story, 1, and 2, that she would have a photograph with her son. When she awoke, my co-founder and I, Jonathan, asked her, "What would you like your son to be when he grows up?" And she replied, with a grin from ear to ear, "President of Rwanda. What else?" That, to me, is the definition of profound hope. The second story that I'd like to tell you is of a woman named Agath. When I first met Agath, we traveled to the border of Congo to visit her in her mud hut. This is the very first day that I saw her. And she also told me the story of watching her entire family again killed in front of her very eyes, of being raped by multiple men. And at the end, if that was not enough, a militia man came and threw a machete in her face and knocked out her teeth. I noticed that Agath, when she does smile, she covers her mouth in shame, and she doesn't like to leave her house. She also bore a daughter, Elizabeth, from the rapes that she endured. Although many women in Rwanda have very complicated feelings towards their children born from rape, Agath deeply loves Elizabeth. She is her best friend. And when I asked her, "What is your dream in life?" she replied, "Education for my daughter and to one day get my smile back." I promised her we'd figure out a way to do both. So I called up a dentist friend of mine in New York, Dr. Levine, and I said, "Can you help?" And he said, "Jules, I'm in. DHL her x-rays from Kigali to New York City. I will handcraft a new set of teeth for Agath." And last summer, he and his family hand-carried a brand new set of teeth to Rwanda. 10 of us piled into a very small room in a dental clinic in Kigali to give Agath her smile back. She had no words. This is the exact moment that she saw her smile for the first time since she was 14. And she began to sing. I can't tell you how profound it is to watch a human being get their smile back after knowing the atrocities that they endured. When I asked her, "What's the first thing you're going to do with your smile?" she looked back at me and said, "I'm going to smile at the man who did this to me." We started Foundation Rwanda in response to these women's stories and to Agath and Elion's hopes and dreams for their children to have a brighter future through education. There are an estimated 20,000 children born from rapes during the genocide in Rwanda, and they're not eligible for secondary school because technically they were born after the genocide and they're not considered survivors. Foundation Rwanda currently sponsors education for 824 students, and we holistically support their mothers, and we hope to support them through their graduation, as well as the great dream and hope of supporting all 20,000 children through their graduation as well. I'm here today because no matter how horrific these stories or how complicated their feelings were towards their children, every single mother we spoke to had the courage and the dream to stand up and to fight for a better future for their children. Their hope fuels who I am and what I do. These children may represent a dark period of our history, but they also represent the light and the hope for a better future. Together, we have an opportunity to right the wrongs of the past. It is an absolute honor to be here today to speak to you, men and women, who dedicate your lives to protect our freedom, our security, our human dignity, and the great hopes and dreams of others. Thank you.